This review will take a quick look at the John Benet Ramsey case, placing some emphasis on the ransom note. And this is quite a complex case. It's still unsolved, and there's people who still think somebody came from outside inside the house and committed the homicide. Other people think it was done by somebody within the house, by the family. So it's quite a complex case, and the ransom note offers some insight. Let me get this on the screen here real quick.
20 years after the crime, there's an all-new interest in the case of John Benet Ramsey. TV special after TV special is revisiting the case. Joining me right now, one of the reporters who is deeply embedded in the investigation, Diane Diamond. Diane, thank you so much for being here.
You bet.
We were both out there in Boulder in the beginning, but you lived this case.
I did, and what a unique case. And today, we're taking a closer look at the ransom note. Two top experts are now reanalyzing that note, and they're revealing some eye-opening new clues to who the killer might be. Listen carefully. We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction. We have your daughter in our possession. This is how the ransom note left on John and Patsy Ramsey's back staircase began. Hours later, John Benet's father would find her body in the basement. Her skull had been crushed, her hands and feet bound. There was evidence she had been sexually abused, and a nylon cord was wrapped tightly around her neck. Almost immediately, suspicion turned to the parents. Headlines splashed across the tabloids declared them guilty. None of their public statements seemed to sway the court of public opinion.
Let me assure you that I did not kill Jean Benet. I did not have anything to do with it.
Then, 4 years after the murder, just 2 months after Patsy learned her ovarian cancer was back, the Ramseys agreed to speak to a room full of journalism students to discuss what it was like to have lived through the tragic circus.
There was a murderer in our home.
Until now, the Ramseys' appearance seemed all but lost to history.
We've been, accused, tried, and convicted in the media of murdering our daughter.
There were several questions from the journalism students about how the Ramseys coped with the intense public scrutiny and the oftentimes ugly portrayal of their behavior after the murder.
I get criticized for not having, we both do, for not having acted right. I spent weeks and weeks and weeks in bed.
I can't get all of this in, but I'll try to advance it a bit. One moment, please.
Based on new advanced DNA results, and the mystery continued. But nearly 20 years on, Crime Watch Daily has teamed up with one of the original investigators on the case, former FBI Special Agent Jim Clemente. He believes the key to solving this case may be in that ransom note.
Are there any other ransom notes that are this length?
There are the ransom notes, but there's nothing that comes anywhere close to this. This reads like a Stephen King novelette, all within about 3 pages.
Even stranger, someone took the time to write it inside the Ramsey home, and it wasn't even the only letter they found.
This is the second version of this letter in the house that night.
Tell me about that.
And we know the letter was found in a rear room of the house and was sort of crumpled up and thrown away. Nothing like this crime, with all the combined factors kicked in, has ever occurred in this form or manner.
Still, it is the content of the letter which says the most, starting at the top.
Listen carefully. It's an interesting choice of words, considering a letter is a visual communication. There is no listening involved.
It's almost like somebody was dictating this letter, perhaps.
I think a strong possibility is that one was listening and one was speaking.
What you're saying is that two people might have been involved in the composing of it.
Yes, it was handwritten by one person, the composition most likely too.
In the second paragraph, the letter writer demands a ransom of $118,000, the exact amount of John Ramsey's end-of-the-year work bonus received just weeks before.
It's certainly suggestive of some level of familiarity, real or perceived.
Numerous suspects. Interestingly, several similarities have been found with Patsy Ramsey's handwriting. Though all members of the Ramsey family were officially cleared by that 2008 DNA analysis, Just a few days ago, forensic scientist Richard Eichenbaum told our own Anna Garcia he believes there were some serious flaws with that test. Flaws he thinks he can correct.
Do you believe it's still possible to figure out whose DNA that is on JonBenet?
I'm absolutely certain.
Could these new revelations finally lead to justice for JonBenet? More later this week.
So, Diane, you were there. You've talked to virtually every expert on this case. What's your theory?
Well, we know, Chris, that the grand jury did indict the Ramseys years ago. There were no charges ever filed, of course. I have the indictment here, and they didn't indict them for murder. They indicted them for placing their child in a dangerous situation that caused her death, and for helping someone they knew had committed the crimes of abuse and murder against a child. So, who did the grand jury think that person was?
You know, this crime scene, this investigation was so compromised, you wonder if it'll ever be solved.
Well, I hope so.
Diane Diamond, thank you for being with
You
us.
bet.
And of course, we've got much more on the JonBenet case right now on our website. That's crimewatchdaily.com.
And that'll do it, and that's just a quick review. And the ransom note is very peculiar. It's lengthy, and exactly who wrote it till this day is unknown. And that'll do it. Let me get this off the screen here real quick.